Hi there, this is Pastor Tabitha Purple. We are doing our devotional thoughts for today. This one is interesting because I do this a lot. So it's taken from Matthew chapter 19 and it's taken from 14. And the verse reads like this: Jesus said, "Leave the children alone and don't try to keep them from coming to me, because the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." And then it says, that's the whole verse they want you to read. There's a little context to it, and I've recently been learning a bit about the context. But we as pastors probably use this and rely on this text quite a lot. Whenever children come into our churches, whenever young people, wherever there is a baby and we have to do a blessing, often this is the text that we reach for. Jesus himself, asked the disciples to stop harassing children, asked people to stop pushing them out, pulled children into the center of things and used them as illustrations, blessed them, prayed for them, and did that. And so we use this text quite a lot when we're blessing children. But I wonder how many of us sitting in the congregation actually think about that. Actually think about the children being at the center, or do we imagine that the child that was pulled to the center was just the well-behaved angelic one, and all the rest of the children who were naughty were left on the outside? And what does that say to our children? This is a subject I'm very passionate about. I'm really, really, really passionate and do spend a lot of time talking to people about how we treat our children in church. Even before I was a parent, even before I was a pastor, this is really something that struck me and stuck with me. As children, when you're growing up in church, are you valued? Are you allowed to be part of the process? Are you allowed to come in? And I've had a roller coaster. There have been some churches I've been to where as a child I was allowed to fully go in, and there were some churches where you just had to fall asleep because there was nothing else you could do, and goodness forbid you fell asleep without being discreet, because then people would make comments. There are some churches which accommodated children. There are some churches that put on whole different programs for kids. And what I've tried always to do is to make children a central focus of what we do and who we are as a church. And so some people feel really offended by that. They feel like, but you're ignoring me. I pay my tithe. You're ignoring me. I've been here and I should be leading. You're ignoring me. And my simple reason is this: children need to be discipled. They need to realize how valued and loved God has for them, really need to focus our attention. But also we as adults then have to take some really humbling lessons. It takes a lot of humility to work with children. Children are completely disarming. Like, they do not care. So I went on a visitation to see somebody, and I was wearing a dress that I really like. I'm very comfortable in it. It's a little maxi dress and it has like stripes down the front, and I'm feeling kind of good about myself and doing my thing. And I get in and the girl's like, "That dress is really cute." She's about 6-7 years old. She's like, "I like your dress, it's really pretty." I was like, "Oh, thank you, I love my dress." And I was like swishing it and being all, kind of happy with my dress and talking to her. And then she went, "Is it tight?" And I was like, no, it's like a t-shirt dress. And I kind of pulled the t-shirt to kind of show her that it was a t-shirt. She said no, and she poked my belly. I said, "No, here." And I said, "No, sweetie, I'm just fat. I've had 3 cesarean sections. That's what happens." And she was like, "Oh, okay," and walked off. Her mother looked like she wanted to die. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And because I'm sensitive, it hurts. I have put weight on over the years. I'm not what I used to be. 3 cesarean sections later, a deterioration in your spine and an inability to move without pain means that weight gathers, and a husband that cooks some of the most divine food, means that weight gathers. So, I have my own issues with my weight. So I was like, humility. Children will teach you to humble yourself. She didn't mean harm. She wasn't being malicious. She wasn't calling me fat. She wasn't, I have been trolled and called fat. I have had that happen to me, and called names and stuff like that. So that's happened. She wasn't doing that. She was just asking a question. And when she got the answer to a question, she went, "Oh, okay," and carried on. "You're pretty." And I was like, why would I hold that as a reason not to deal with children? And I look at when Jesus is talking about children and about the way that we should be as children. I am not suggesting you poke anyone's belly. Don't do that. But I am suggesting that humility, that genuine inquisitiveness, that willingness to learn, to ask questions and expect to understand the answer, and not ask questions with the intent of tripping people up or being mean to people, but out of a general wanting to understand, wanting to get a clearer vision of what's happening. That's really important, and kids do that. Children are like completely disarming with that. They ask questions, they want to know, they want to understand, and how much better. So when Jesus is saying, bring the little kids, they should leave them alone. Don't do that. You get uncomfortable. Let the kids come at the front. Let them take center place. Let us be uncomfortable so that they can learn. Because actually, when we do that, there are so many lessons in it for us. And if you can't do it just for somebody else, because for the pure altruistic reason that you help someone else, then do it because it will teach you something about God for yourself. Do it for that reason. If you can't do it for the kid, you should just do it because it's the right thing to do, right? Anyway, it's something good to ponder and think about. How do we actually approach church, especially when our church families are separate and we cannot go to the building in the same way? How are you approaching the church experience? What are you doing? And does that include wondering how our children are? And are you helping with that? I know a pastor who's doing amazing work, and he decided there was more than enough offerings on a Sabbath morning, so he was not going to get dragged into the rabbit hole of that, and instead he was going to provide something for the children and the young people in his church. Not the adults, the children and the young people, because his heart went out to all of those children who are really suffering during this corona time, who really are experiencing emotional, physical, mental, spiritual stress and strain, and whose families are being disrupted in ways that, people can only imagine, and the disruption and pain that was coming. And he heard the statistic that actually young people, the abuse was increasing, and he was like, no, I need to provide a safe space. Commend that. That is amazing. I really salute that behavior. Like, it's just so the heart of God. So anyway, what can you do to make somebody else's life better? What can you do to actually put children at the center of your church experience? Something for us to think about. Hey, have a good day. Bye-bye.